How about the euro? Euro's bearish after a spike in channel completed its move and collapsed off the high. Now the sellers will be looking for another leg down with a target back at today's low and possibly that big round number tomorrow waiting there at 12,000. The sellers have control, and with this strong move down off the highs, we expect them to be selling the moving average as well as looking for traps and buyer failures up at the battle zone as well. Buyers have zero proof at this time, so the only way they can be confident buying will be after a very strong break higher that can hold above the battle zone for a move back up to the highs tomorrow. This one's even more dramatic, and this is a little bit more difficult because we don't really have much of a trading range other than, right, if I go back in time here and I look back at yesterday's newsletter range right there. Right, so this may end up being that trading range tomorrow, which means if we can slip, right, if we slip back into that range now, it could easily tumble all the way back down to the 11,800 area, right, back down low of that range. If we do end up getting back into this range, remember, buy low, sell high, right, it'd be a nice comfortable range for us to work with tomorrow. That's a beautiful range going into tomorrow's session, much better than gold, right? Gold had a range that was like this big. So the chances are that gold's going to get a bigger, it'll initially start inside that range, but it'll probably expand into a larger range. If we get back into this range, right there, right? If we get back into this range, expect that range then to play in for tomorrow. So zooming back in. And again, if we do get back inside that range, buy low, sell high. And of course, at this point right now, the odds are on the side of those sellers. Example here, bull spike and channel, right? They got their retest of that high. You can see buyers try to come in and buy the correction zone. But this thing, after they got their objective back at that high, and if you're a student of mine, you know what I'm talking about, right? Once we get the objective, then of course at that point now the buyers have to either hold this or it's going to collapse, and that's exactly what it did. It collapsed down, and much like we talked about on gold, we want to keep an eye out for a measured move here. I've got them labeled A down to B, possibly C back here. It's tough to tell, obviously, at this point right now. We'll need to see more information on this. But right now, with such a strong move here to the downside, we do expect to see sellers on the tape here after it comes back to test that moving average. Personally, though, what I'd love to see here is, just like we talked about on gold, get that price up to an area of resistance, buyer failure, and then break right on down. On gold, we had a trend line coming over that could be used for it. On the euro, we have, as you can see, the battle zone. And of course, the battle zone's an area of interest. It's never going to be just a specific price level, right? So we've got a swing here, the battle zone here. So really what I'm looking for is a breakup. Moving average comes over. Buyers will try to buy it. Failure, and of course, a target is back down to that low. And then if you want to hold a runner, right, we now know that round number is just staring us right in the face at 12,000. And the low of that range around 11,800. What if you want to be a buyer right now? Very similar to gold. We're going to have to see this market now get strong breakout, hold that pullback with a target back to those highs. That's probably going to be all we get for tomorrow, though, and then that might end up being the range, right? So, of course, at that point now, buy low, sell high. We end up back to those highs, right? Look for those profits to be taken at the highs and sell it back down. So, again, strong break up, breakout, pullback, and then again, unless it just keeps running, which possible but not probable, right? Then that breakout, pullback, as long as you get that moving average above that 13,000, all right? But be careful about that, because what's more likely here is to get it up, finish the move, and then back down again, or at least see a very difficult time getting through that high, and that might be the range, right? That might end up being the range, right? Because we're not expecting to see new fresh weekly highs tomorrow unless just poking its head through. All right. I'm going to trade what I see, not what I think tomorrow. I'll encourage you to do the same thing. Right. Again, euro and gold, crude oil as well are bearish. So make the bulls prove it. S&P still hasn't fallen apart yet. So the S&P is definitely holding water here for the buyers right now. But the S&P is showing signs of that triangle. It's been a wild, wild week. The goal tomorrow is keep your eyes and ears open, get in early, get out early, right? Don't give back the money. We've had a great week so far. Don't give it back tomorrow.